Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Beyond the Cage podcast presented by Intimidation Clothing. I am Jim Graham alongside Dave Sadler. Inside of round number 3 here on the show, brought to you by our good friends at MMAforlife.ca. Follow them on Twitter at _MMAforlife. We have a very special guest joining us. She is the latest female fighter signed by the Ultimate Fighting Championship. She is Jessica Evil Eye. Jessica, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for having me back.
Now, we know that summer is winding down here in 2013, but how did you spend your summer, Jessica?
Actually, it was probably one of the best summers I've had in a really long time. Like, I was able to travel a lot. I was able to do some cross-training, but I felt like physically this was probably one of the coolest summers in the sense that, like, my training-wise has really stepped up a gear. So I've had a great summer. I'm actually, like, ready for it to, like, settle down because, you know, like, Ohio, how the weather is, like, as summer starts to subside, like, people kind of veg inside, and it's not as busy.
Now, let's look at your last fight, which was a couple months ago, as you took on Karina Dam, and you were able to defeat her at a show in Ohio. And one interesting thing that happened was that she tested positive for PEDs, and even though you won the fight and it didn't look like it really mattered, was that something that kind of shocked you when you found that after the fact?
I mean, yes, it was definitely a shocker that she actually, you know, it wasn't she tested positive. She tested, like, that the urine had no DNA in it. So, I mean, hindsight, you know, like, why were you handing in fake urine or why were you handing in urine that had no DNA in it? I mean, you've already been tested positive before for other, you know, steroids and other stuff. Like, I mean, obviously you're not handing in clean urine for whatever reason it may be. So, knowing that and knowing, like, how, like, that went down, it kind of made that victory a little bit more bittersweet, especially because some of the circumstances. Most people don't know that that fight actually took place outside, and it was like a torrential downpour at the time, and it was literally raining sideways into the cage. So both of us were kind of dealing with some crazy Mother Nature at the night.
Where in exactly Ohio was it?
Downtown Cleveland, right on the water. It was at the Jacobs Pavilion. And if you've ever been down, like, downtown Cleveland, the way that the pavilion's set up, it's right on the water, but it's got, like, this, you know, like a pavilion over it, but still it doesn't protect you from sideways rain or even from getting wet or even being misted. So the entire cage floor was, I mean, completely wet. If you even watch the YouTube video, you can hear how hard it is downpouring.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah, That's crazy. That's one thing that drives me nuts. They just had a fight at RFA where it was outside, and Jeff Curran couldn't keep his footing and stuff, and that's ridiculous. But that's a whole other story. We could do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
Jessica, we know that Bellator, they dropped their women's division, which obviously it included yourself and a couple other ladies. What are your thoughts on their decision to remove the division? You know, and obviously that led to your release and got you on to bigger and better things, but what are your thoughts on their decision to remove the division?
I mean, obviously I'm a very loyal person. A lot of the things that I do within the sport, and such as sponsors and everything, like I like to stand by, you know, what I believe in, and I felt like Bellator, I really believed them. So it was a disappointment, but also at the same time it was a blessing that they aren't holding me back now from being able to establish myself as a true female fighter, a top-ranked true female fighter in this sport. So, I mean, it was disappointing at first, but, I mean, hindsight, yet again, I mean, I'm officially signed with the biggest organization in the world. Like, we're talking the NFL, the NHL, the NBA of fighting. You know, it's the UFC. And, I mean, I couldn't be any happier to be with them. And, hey, it's crazy how things work out. You know, Bellator gave me an opportunity to fight in a bigger size cage under a bigger audience, so I can only take it with experience and, you know, keep going.
All right, well, I don't want to reflect too much more on Bellator, so I'll ask one more. Is there any kind of weird story or anything to go along with your release? Did you get like a weird text message at 7 o'clock in the morning, or was it just like an email or something from your management team letting you know you'd been released?
No, you know, we had been bugging them. You know, there's tolling agreements in their contracts that basically, they were coming up on, they had to offer me a fight by September, and they were kind of running out of options, and they couldn't extend my contract legally. There was nothing. They had to offer me a fight in September. So I think that kind of struck it, like fire under their ass almost, because they had to. So really, I guess that might have been like the real push to like get me going or get me off. But I got an email I got a call from Greg Kalikas, my manager, and he was like, hey, talk to Sam. Gotta let you know what's going on. You aren't going to be fighting soon, but you are being released with no obligation. So I was like, hey, you know what? I mean, there's no bad blood. I'm released. I can fight. I mean, that's the main objective is to be able to fight.
So Jessica, you've been released by Bellator. You get the call from your management team. Kind of maybe take us through the series events of when you find out you're released to then, I guess you could say, signing on the dotted line with the UFC. Kind of what's the next stage of events that happened with you?
Really, it was, I got the official, I'm going to be released from them, be alarmed. It's going to be kind of coming in the next couple days. And it took about a week for them to get the release to me. Well, within that timing of the release, my manager contacted a couple organizations of which that I would be able to go and fight in, just UFC and the World Series of Fighting. Actually, the World Series of Fighting came to us, and we were going to the UFC, obviously, talking to Sean Shelby, because back in 2000, right before I signed my Bellator contract, Sean Shelby had contacted us and asked me about a Strikeforce fight. So that was at 135. We turned it down because we knew we had some things going on with Bellator, and we thought it was, the better thing to do. So anyways, get the release. Literally signed the release, and within 2 days I'm signed with the UFC. And I kind of knew already that that's where we were going to be going. We kind of had to play it the right way. Obviously contracts and stuff like that. I don't think most people realize like how much stuff goes into these contracts and what we are and are not allowed to really say. Because believe me, as a fighter, you want to scream and tell everybody, but it took a couple weeks to finally get all the paperwork, laid out, get my contract, and all that stuff. But it was only a few days after signing the release that I was already signed, sealed, delivered.
So, Jessica, you said that as a fighter you really do want to scream and tell everybody. Since you signed that contract, have you actually gone outside and screamed that you're a UFC fighter now?
Well, no, because I don't want anybody in the neighborhood, like, next thing you know, like, everybody's like, wait a minute, now she's in the UFC. Because my neighbors know that I'm a fighter, but I don't think that they know to the extent, because I live in kind of like a nice Ukrainian village within Parma, so they're kind of retired, so they're like, wait a minute, she fights? How does a girl like you fight? I don't get that. So...
Now, Jessica, you did mention that the World Series of Fighting was another organization besides the UFC that showed some interest in signing you upon your release from Bellator. Did Invicta at all try to contact you or vice versa about signing you?
Not me personally. They didn't, I don't know if they contacted Greg, but there was so many things going on at the time that, like, I love Invicta. I think Invicta is a fantastic organization, and I cannot wait. I mean, I physically cannot wait to go to one of their fights now, because I kind of didn't go before because of the Bellator thing, and I just didn't want any bad press, and I didn't want it to seem like I was some kind of like traitor. I don't know, like there's so much, it's so judgmental in this sport that you can't really do much of anything. That's why I kind of stay out of people's mouths in those ways. So at any rate, I'm excited to go out there and, meet Shannon Snap for herself and get to see how the organizations run. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'll be able to help some of the girls over there. You never know.
With signing on with the UFC, obviously they only have the female bantamweight division. How much did that factor into your decision-making in signing with the organization?
For me personally, it really wasn't that big of a decision. I mean, I cut weight. I cut a lot of weight to get down to 25. I wouldn't say, I'm the biggest, I'm the fastest, that's going to be coming up, or I'm sorry, the biggest or the strongest at 35, but I definitely think I'm bringing a lot of speed from being a lighter weight fighter for a long time. But I also cut a lot of weight, and I think that caused me to not be able to mature muscularly as a woman. I didn't do certain exercises because I didn't want to put on too much muscle, because we knew we kind of was on that fine line of where I was not going to be able to make it to 25 anymore.
So you're now with the UFC, and obviously you wanted to fight right away. Were you surprised at all that you all of a sudden then went from being signed to not even a week later you got your first fight already that one signed on the dotted line?
No, I mean, it's awesome. I'm glad. Like, I'm really glad, because I'm the kind of fighter that, like, I love conflict within myself. That's why I like fighting so much. And I like individualized sports, is because it causes a conflict within the person. So I'm glad that I'm getting another fight this year, because that would have only been, one fight for this year would have been Karina. And I mean, I'm not used to that. Like, I don't like that extra free time on my hands. Like, I like to know that there's a purpose. I'll have free time when I retire. Like, I don't need that right now. I need to stay busy. I need to stay active. And we're not saying overly busy, but I'm used to having anywhere from 3 to 6 fights in a year. And I like that. And that's fun for me. And I'm glad that I'm going to have another fight before year ending. And I hope to keep it like that. I hope to keep having at least 2 fights a year, and I'm sure that's what's going to happen with the UFC. I mean, I've signed a 4-fight deal. I'm getting 1 by now. I mean, you're going to see me in the UFC for the next 3 years, if not more.
Now, you mentioned some of the things that you couldn't do training-wise because you were trying to stay in shape to get down to 125. Now that you're going to fight at 135, you're signed on to fight Sarah Kaufman. Do you think some of those things you weren't doing before in a training camp you now will do, that you're preparing for a fight against Sarah Kaufman at 135?
Well, I think a lot of people didn't really know. I've already been since I hurt my back in April, I've changed everything. I mean, I didn't know if I was ever going to go to 35, but I knew that I was going to get myself so freaking strong. And, I just kind of had an idea that there was something bigger for me, if that makes sense. Like me with my trainers, like we were always like, what, Jessica, 35 is probably going to be where we're going to go one day. It might not, it might be, we never know, but we need to figure it out. You're 27 years old. If we get that option, we're taking it. And it was weird how everything's played out, because I've already been on track for like a bigger size. It's actually funny because I've had a couple people be like, damn, Jess, like you're looking really big these days. You're looking diesel. Like I had someone ask me, they're like, oh my God, Jess, like you're smaller and leaner right now and you're walking around at 45 than you are when you fight down at 25. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm bigger right now and I'm enjoying the crap out of it. Like I've had a couple people be like, come on, Jess, what are you doing? And I love that because it's funny to me, because like I am so anti-PEDs and like so like I'm such a like I don't even take supplements for the most part. Like I don't do fat burners. I don't do things that like that are going to help. Like, oh, I better do this certain drink at this time and this at this time. I'm natural. I eat, I lift, I rest. So I'm pumped for this. I think people are going to be like, damn, Jessica I's she's pretty cut. You know what I mean? Like she's still got her feminine look to her, Like, so I'm excited to show people what the new and improved Jessica I's going to look like.
I want to know who hangs out with you that would say, oh man, Jessica, you're looking diesel. Because that's not something that I'm in the business of, walking around letting women know that they look diesel. Like,
well, you gotta understand. You gotta understand. When I'm in the gym with my buddies at the gym, like, of course, they're like, "Dang, Jess, you're diesel." I'm one of the guys. Like if they were like, "Jessica, your arms really accentuate the way that your back looks when you wear that T-shirt," I would be like, dude, what is wrong with you? You know what I mean? But if a guy like out was trying to say something nice about my physique, and he was like, man, you have a very nice structure to you. I mean, then that, you know what I mean? Like, or if I'm in a bar and a guy was like, damn, you look diesel, I'd be like, are you drunk?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, learn how to talk to a woman. You know what I mean? Learn how to talk to a lady. Like, maybe compliment something else.
Yeah, you have beautiful eyes and you look diesel.
I swear to you, when I say that's happened to me one time, I had a guy tell me, he was like, I had a tank top on, and I'm not like crazy big. Like I don't look like a bodybuilder. You know what I mean? Like my arms aren't oversized. But I had a guy one time, we were all out and about, and he goes, quit flexing. And like it caught me so off guard, because he like walked like in front of my path and just said it, that I looked at him and I was like, oh my God. is that what men say to women? I wanted to cover my shoulders up and be like, oh my God, I feel like I just got exploited.
Right. It seems like there's a difference between gym life and real life, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Now, obviously, you're in the UFC, and for all of our fans that listen to the show, me and Jim both, we collect all the little trinkets and collectibles that the UFC puts out, DVDs, trading cards, all that kind of stuff. So now that you're a part of that, have you even, has it hit you mentally yet that all of your fights now are going to be on a DVD? You have the opportunity next year to be in their trading card, their video game, stuff like that. Has any of that hit you yet?
Yeah, it has, but at the same time, and I know this is probably going to sound super bizarre, but I feel like the only difference is everything is on a higher level. Like when I fought with the NAAFS, I have every single DVD of every single one of my fights. You know what I mean? I have a trading card that they did with me. So I feel like all of the things that were introduced to me, now it's just going to be on a higher level, and it's going to be for more people to share with me. So I'm not one to let emotion completely kill me in that way. So I feel like it's exciting. I feel like it's just going to be an added to my collection of all the years of trading cards that I have and all the DVDs that I have and showing that growth where I went from an NAAFS to Ring of Combat to Bellator to the UFC. I think it's going to be sweet to have all of them.
Coming up next week, The Ultimate Fighter will debut on Fox Sports 1, and for the first time of the history of the show, it will feature female cast members as well as female coaches. And I guess this one's kind of a two-parter. First, is there anything you're looking forward to as a fellow female fighter yourself to seeing these ladies do on The Ultimate Fighter? And two, do you know any of the ladies that will be participating in the cast at all?
To answer the second question, I do know a lot of the ladies. The women's circuit has grown a lot, but it's not grown enough that, we all don't know who one another is. You know what I mean? We all know who each other are. If you're in the top 10 of any weight class, we know each other. So, some of them I do know personally, I've gotten actually hanging out with or have trained with at one point, and then some of them, are very new to me. So, which is I know their name, but I've never seen what they're about. So I am excited to see that for them. I'm excited to see that for women's MMA. And I think it's going to be awesome. I think that people kind of need to see a little bit of an attitude and need to see. So I feel like Rhonda and Nisha will do very good for it. I think what will be awesome is having another series come out maybe later in the year and get to show a different group of females, a different angle and the different personalities. Cause let's face it, the females are very different from all of each other. And I think that's what makes them exciting. Their personalities bring, a lot more to the, bring something different to the table, I almost feel like.
Speaking of the two coaches, Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey, this is another two-parter question. First, who do you think would be the better coach of the two? And then the second part would be, who do you think would win in their rematch coming up in December?
Man, fighting's crazy. So to answer the second question yet again first, they're both great fighters. If one is able to pull out the other's weaknesses, that's where you're going to see that. For a better coach, I've actually gotten to talk to a couple girls, and everybody has great things to say about both girls and how they coach. I can't really make that decision. I can't tell you a yes or no answer who I think would be better without getting to see a little bit, because I don't really know who they are personally as people. You know what I mean? I can't make a judgment call on them like that. I know they are as fighters, but I can't make that judgment call. I can definitely tell you if we went based upon skill, they're both bringing two different types of skills to the table, so we'll have to see about how these girls perform to make that based upon skill.
Jessica, you said you'll be in the UFC for quite a long time, next couple, 3-4 years. If they were to ever do another female coaches on The Ultimate Fighter, is that something you'd want to do?
Shoot, I better be. Absolutely. Come on. That is without a doubt, that is a absolute yes. I would love love to be one of the coaches. I love helping people. I love showing people things. I love being able to motivate people. And I feel like I would be great at it. I mean, I've already been told that for many times that I'm a great leader. So like, I can only imagine if like I'm given the opportunity to help females like that to reach their goals, shoot.
Since you've recently signed with the UFC, I don't think there's been an event since you've signed. Have you been to a live UFC event yet?
Well, that's great that you actually say that, because my one and only UFC fight that I have ever been to was my teammate's debut in Houston, Texas, at the Toyota Center in October, when he made his debut 2.5 years ago. So it's really freaking ironic, because I think that is like the absolute craziest thing in the world. Like, that was my first UFC fight I ever went to. I was down on the, like, almost down on the floor, I think I was second row, and like the down below where I was, it was like the floor area. So like I could literally like see the expression on the guys' faces and stuff like that. Plus I went to the Fan Expo. I got to walk around, before weigh-ins to see everything. So I feel like going into this next fight, like I know what it looks like over there. Like, I'm excited for it. I mean, what are the freaking odds, you guys? What are the odds my first UFC fight I ever go to is going to be the same place I'm doing my debut at, and my teammate? Like, it's just crazy. I feel like.
That is pretty crazy. And speaking of some of your teammates, I know some of them got some fights coming up. And first I want to hit on Stipe Miocic, a guy that had arguably the biggest win of his career a couple months ago against Roy Nelson. And I just wanted you to kind of talk about his fight there, and maybe you were surprised at all about his performance against a top-quality heavyweight in Roy Nelson.
Well, first of all, Stipe is awesome. He is a really, really, really hard worker. And I mean, there's no one in this world that I feel deserves it more in this heavyweight division than him right now. I think that this whole heavyweight division is about to explode into a whole new level of not fighters. Like, obviously Roy Nelson is a great fighter. No one can take anything from him. But I do feel like he is that old style fighter, where if you have that new style fighter, such as guys like Stipe, such as Chris Weidman, such as all those guys that are athletes that win based upon athleticism and skill set. So I'm very excited for him, and I'm proud of him that he won that fight. I mean, the entire state of Ohio welcomed him when he came home, and it's awesome to see, small town people kind of do it big, and in the UFC and beat big name fighters, because it can happen. It can. I mean, it's been proven time and time again. Look at, yet again, Anderson Silva, the Chris Weidman, Stipe with Roy Nelson. You know what I mean? Like, it happens all the time.
Another one of the guys up there at the Strong Style Gym with you is Brian Rogers, and he's once again set to prepare for another run at a Bellator middleweight tournament. Are you excited to see Brian get back in Bellator's cage and hopefully this time win a Bellator tournament?
Man, I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am for Brian. Me and Brian, actually, it's where I'm sitting right now. I'm actually waiting on these guys to get here. We both switched up trainers back in April. He actually started his a little bit before April. So he's been training with this guy too. And yet again, like, you're going to see Brian Rogers and you're going to be like, oh my God, Brian Rogers is a whole Brian Rogers bigger. Like, this guy that we're training with is just unbelievable. And I think it's going to put him in a completely different mindset, that he's going to feel so much more confident. So like those things that people are like, oh, they think because Brian, lost to Spang before, that's going to be in his head. I don't think that's going to be the problem at all. I feel like Spang is going to be in his own head, and Brian's just going to go out there and be the fighter that he truly is. And sometimes, as a fighter, and I can say this too, that you have to go through things. You might have to take a couple losses before you go on this hot winning streak, because you have to learn. And the only way to learn is to either be put in that situation or to experience it from an outsider. And I feel like this is the time for Brian to really, 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 really shine and take this whole middleweight tournament. I really honestly do. I mean, I've never seen anybody work as hard. I mean, he has been on a warpath since they moved the fight back. Like, his training has only gotten better. And I love watching these guys, man. Like, I'm a fan of my teammates, too. You know, like, I love seeing how awesome they're going to do and how other people might underestimate them.
So, Jessica, last time we had you on, I found out that you and I share a common interest in our love for the Green Bay Packers. And the season is almost upon us here for the Packers to hopefully get the 14th World Championship that they so honestly deserve. And I didn't know what you were thinking about the upcoming season for the Packers coming up here in about a week or so.
Well, of course, I'm very, very excited. I took Finney on my fantasy football team, so I have a couple Packers on there. But I love them. I'm excited to see what their season's going to be like. It's going to be kind of crazy because I feel like I'm going to be fighting in October, so it's going to be kind of hard to follow as much. But then again, at the same time, like, I'll miss my Monday night football a lot because I won't get to be there because of obviously late night training on Monday nights, but I'll still have all day on Sunday to watch. I'm going to make it out to a Wisconsin game at some point.
Yeah,
and I'm putting my cheese head on. I swear to you, I'll probably be that person wearing it on the airplane. Like, I'm going to Wisconsin. I'm going to Wisconsin.
I've been trying to get out there for a couple of years now, just haven't found the right opportunity. And hopefully, I'll invade enemy territory, so to speak. I'll go to Ford Field and wear the green and yellow there amongst the Lions fans there, which won't be too bad because the Lions are not very good. So I don't expect too much trouble from the fans at Ford Field. But one question, and this is, I think Dave will jump on here, this question too as well. Now, we all know Intimidation Clothing, that's one of your sponsors. That's the sponsor of this show. We love all the people at Intimidation Clothing. And with a new fight coming up, we thought, I wonder if she could hook us up with a brand new Jessica I shirt.
Cough, cough, extra large. Cough, cough, extra large.
Okay. Let's make sure we get... I will talk with Luke. I will get you guys some I Believe t-shirts over until then. But yes, I think there's going to be some new things coming out for me. A lot of things have kind of arose to get a new signature t-shirt out there and stuff like that. So there's going to be some cool stuff. Like, I'm definitely going to keep all my fans in touch. But why don't you send me over an address in t-shirt size, and I will get you guys some I Believe stuff out there too until my actual signature shirt comes out.
Maybe I'll even give mine up, and you don't have to send me one. Maybe we'll just get one, and we'll do a giveaway for all of our fans, our listeners. Maybe that would be better.
Well, I'll send you guys some stuff because I would love for you to have some, but then I'll send something extra, and you can do a giveaway for somebody.
Sweet.
That would be awesome.
I'll send you guys some Chico sticks.
Some what?
Some Chico sticks. You don't know what a Chico stick is?
Dave, come on.
Tell me. Enlighten me.
Gosh. Okay, you know the inside of a Butterfinger? It's like that. It's like that without the chocolate. So it's that toasty greatness. It's that toasty peanut butter, coconutty greatness that it has.
That's great because I'm not a huge chocolate guy. Where do I pick one of these up?
You can get them at like the dollar stores or Giant Eagles. You can get like the little nugget ones, but I will send you guys over a little care package. Send me, inbox me on my Twitter, and I'll send you guys a bunch of little fun stuff from some of my sponsors and stuff.
Cool.
I'll get you out of here with this, Jessica. You're fighting Sarah Kaufman coming up here in a couple months. It'll be your first UFC fight. I'm not going to ask for your game plan or anything, but what should we expect from you and Sarah Kaufman coming up in October?
Sarah is a great fighter. She's very well established. So I'm obviously excited to get ready for a fight that is going to be very well-rounded because I feel I bring a very well-rounded skill base myself to the cage. And both of us being strikers, I think that, since we're both strikers, we have to figure out the game plan to get around that. I mean, I'm sure we're both going to be... I think this will be a great fight. Like, I really do stylistically. I think two strikers having to kind of push the pace and see where it goes. So just stay tuned. Just know that me and her are both working very hard. And I think that this will be probably one of the most lightning fights that they see in their women's division this year.
Once again, she is Jessica Evil Eye making her debut against Sarah Kaufman in the UFC coming up in October. Again, follow her on Twitter at Jessica Evil Eye. Jessica, thanks for coming back on the show. We really appreciate it, and we're going to be rooting for you for your fight in October.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys. And it means the world that you guys even consider me for an interview. So always call me anytime you want to chat.
Once again, that was newly signed UFC female bantamweight fighter Jessica Evil Eye right here on Beyond the Cage, presented by Intimidation Clothing.